Hi and welcome back to our latest lockdown video for you. Today's subject is that most dreaded of all golf shots, whose name we don't even like to mention. So we're going to sort it out for you today. By the end of the video you shouldn't be doing that anymore, but in the meantime, before we get stuck in, let's see an example of a real cracker. So here we see Hunter Mahan, former Ryder Cup player, in the World Match Play event at Arizona, finding an absolute beauty of a shank. Oof, came as a surprise to him, I think. Ends up miles to the right, and even when we see these swings in slower motion, it's very hard to detect why this particular swing caused such a catastrophic result. There we go, beautiful. And there's one closer to home. Again, hard to see what actually caused that at that speed, but it ended up in the water nonetheless. Okay, so that's probably enough watching people shank the ball. We don't want it to be catching, but what we do know is that pretty much all of us have hit the shank shot at some point or another. Not only that, is that they tend to come in batches. They tend to come to the party with a few friends that plague you for the rest of that round, or maybe even a month or so, which can be incredibly demoralising. Not only that, there seems to be a lot of anecdotal cures for the shanks. People will be very, very keen to give you their solutions to the shanks. But the most common one that Harry and I see and hear about all the time is that once someone's hit a shank, they tend to stand further away from their ball with their next iron shot. And again, this makes common sense. They know the ball's hit the heel of the club, so by standing further away, they think they're reducing the potential of that happening again. But that very, very rarely cures the problem. It's not something that we would recommend, and I'm going to show you why. Using some stills footage from our studio cameras here, we can see Harry's professional address position with the ball opposite the middle of the club. And now at impact, we see that the ball's moved to the hosel end of the golf club. And by overlaying one image on the other, we get a really good idea of where this shank has come from. I want you to focus on the shaft of the golf club, and you'll see there's two images of the shaft there. The one nearest to Harry's legs is his set-up shaft position, and the one further away is his impact shaft position. And this clearly tells us that somewhere during this golf swing, that whole golf club has moved further away from Harry's body. And this in essence is where the shank comes from. It's also why it's a really bad idea to keep moving away from the ball to prevent a shank, because by moving away from the ball, you're going to have to reach out away from your body further and further to reach the golf ball, and you're actually practicing the very action which started you shanking in the first place. So with something as complicated as a golf swing, involving all our bodily movements in order to get the club around our body, there are literally hundreds of different technical reasons why we might produce a shanked golf shot. I actually don't want to get involved in any of those, it's too much to think about. What we are going to deal with though is the fact of the matter of what happens in order to cause a shank, and we're going to solve that problem. So in order for a shank to be successfully executed, all we do know is that from where we started at the point of address, by the time we get to the point of impact, the club has moved away from us. That's it. That's what's happened. The club has got further away from you at the point of impact than it was at address. So we just need to deal with that issue in order to stop you shanking it. And again, let's look at how far it has to move in order for you to hit a shank. And some people rather annoyingly say after you've hit a shank, well, that was really close to being a good shot, which is obviously no comfort whatsoever on the golf course. But actually, if we take this golf ball here and put it on the club face for you to see, the error rate in order for you to catch a slight bit of the roundness of the hosel of the club here is round about just over ½ an inch before you start catching the neck of the club and it shoots off sideways. So it really isn't a big error to make during a golf swing at full speed for you to hit a shot which is really heavily punished. So having seen that the problem with the shank is that the club moves further away from us, let's give you a couple of really good feedback drills that can sort the problem out. So bear in mind, this is only to be done if you've experienced a few shanks or if you're prone to them. This will be an immediate cure. And you can see here I'm waving around my block of foam. This is my preferred training aid for this particular cure. It's a relatively firm piece of foam, but it's something that if it were to be hit by me, or if I hit it by accident, it's not going to hurt me or anyone else. That's the key. Let's show you what I do with it. If you can't get a piece of foam, you can use all sorts of household objects. Loo rolls, good one, rolled up towel, even a couple of tea pegs you can see here I've put in the ground, and you'll see what I mean when I get to use my block as to how to use them. Okay, so before we get engaged with hitting a golf ball again, just put your block or your loo roll down here, and all we want to do is train the exact opposite of what has caused your shank. So in other words, for this particular drill, we're going to be training you to bring the club closer to your body in the downswing instead of pushing it away from you, which is what caused the shank. So I'd advise starting with the club about half of the blade opposite your block, and then making a golf swing with the idea of during the downswing, the club is going to pass without hitting the block at all. So you get instant feedback that you've brought the club closer to you on the downswing rather than further away. If you catch the block, which you may do for the first couple of occasions, not the end of the world, put it back, but it gives you instant feedback. So a good practice drill would look something like this. Halfway across the block, take a swing, bring it on the inside. Okay, and the block stays where it is. And just by doing that a few times on the trot, you can see we're going to develop a habit of the club coming closer to our body on the downswing, which is key to solving those shanks. So once we've done a few drills with our block, we can actually use a golf ball to do this drill. And I'm going to get Harry in here. Is it fair to say, Harry, that you've occasionally hit this?
Yeah, I think there's most probably a handful of members who are aware of seeing me hit one, which is slightly disappointing. But yeah, it's definitely in my locker.
Okay, I think we all have one or two in the locker, but
yeah.
I've played with you a couple of times where it's reappeared.
Yeah.
So we're going to get Harry in to do the drill with a golf ball this time, and I'm going to talk him through it, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
So this time, Harry, I'd like you to hit shots, but start with your club head of your club, the other side of the golf ball.
Okay, so fully the other side?
Yeah,
okay,
I think
so
you can do that.
And take my address as normal first, though, so I don't end up moving closer to the ball?
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Okay, right,
Good
so
point.
I'm going to get to there, and I'm going to get the club further away.
Start from there, swing down closer to you.
Okay.
Oh, lovely shot.
It's a different golf shot.
It feels strange?
Different. Feels very unnatural to start off with.
Okay.
But the changing of the pattern feels like that shank isn't going to come into play whatsoever. Feels a lot closer to the middle of the club.
Good. Excellent. Well, as we can see there, it is possible to do it with a golf ball. And if you are prone to this sort of shot, that'll be a real help and solve the problem really quickly. So until next time, we'll be back soon with another video. Take care of yourselves, and we'll both see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.